YouTubers, back again here with another video about balsa building tips. I've got two planes on the bench here, my kitchen table. We've got on the right the Sig Something Extra, and on the left the Sig Fourstar 60. So these planes, if any of you built them or are going to build them, this is another kind of method that I use in terms of finishing the inside of the engine compartment and the cheeks. I love covering, I really do, but I have no desire to try to stuff covering on those inside corners and do that. So what I do is I paint the inside of these. Most of the time I do a gloss black, just because that's kind of my thing. That's what I do. It will, I don't know, it's just what I like to do. So that's what I do. If there's a plane that the color really dictates that that's something that you don't do, obviously you can use whatever color you want. So color is really kind of irrelevant. But the first thing I do is I we'll make sure that everything is, sealed up, all the way around, and that we're starting off with kind of bare wood. And then what I'll do again, and I've done this in the past, is I'll cut little squares of masking tape to just cover barely my blind nuts there. You probably don't have to do this with the paint, but with the epoxy, I think it's kind of important. So I make them real small. It's kind of a pain in the butt to cut them out, but it's definitely worth the effort in terms of keeping those threads clear from paint and epoxy. So once I get those in place, then I go ahead and I mask everything off so I don't get overspray anywhere that I don't want paint. And I go ahead and paint it. Now check your labels. Different paints, enamels, whatever, require different drying times. Some of them are up to a week or more. So be cognizant of that before you start putting clear over them or putting epoxy over them. That's important. So what I do then after the paint is totally cured is I use, again, West Systems. And I like West Systems because it flows out really nice. It kind of tends to self-level even on a vertical surface, and leaves everything looking super glossy. If you have imperfections and you need to do multiple layers of paint before that, do it. Get it looking close to how you want it, because once that epoxy's on there, it is on there. I've never tried painting over epoxy, but that defeats the purpose, because the epoxy is essentially what is fuel proofing the wood at that point. So the epoxy that I use is the West Systems with the 105, and I use the 207 hardener, which is their ultra clear hardener. It doesn't leave any of that yellow coloring to it at all. It dries clear. So if you did have a different color other than black, that would certainly benefit you, as it doesn't distort the shade that you're trying to put down at all. So once I get that done, this is kind of the result that it has, and you can see in there carefully there's a reflection of the engine off of it, kind of give you an idea of how glossy that does turn out. And that is fuel proof. Like, that's not going to ever have any issues, at least that I've had, and I've got some planes that are in the 20-year-old range that have had no deterioration in the engine compartments, where I've painted them over with the West Systems epoxy. I can't say enough good about that stuff. It's pricey, but I think it's money well spent to preserve your models so that they last a good long while. So again, the steps are real simple. It's paint with your preferred color, get it to where it looks good, and then you're just going to protect it with the epoxy, and then certainly you can cover up and just wrap your edge of your covering around that, however you're going to do whatever you're doing your covering. I'm not a covering pro, but it comes out nice enough when I do it. So that's it. Hopefully that will also help some folks out there. Again, the whole point of this is kind of trying to share ideas and preserve the hobby from the building side of things. There's lots of people still flying stuff, and the ARFs have kind of taken over the world, but there's definitely this cult following of folks that are still building scratch built and kit built balsa airplanes. And I think the forums are awesome for information, but I think if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a video is probably worth 10,000. And so we can start kind of passing on some of this knowledge that way, and maybe keeping some of our kids and younger generations interested in the hobby and seeing how fun and rewarding building a plane is. You know, truly taking a box of wood bits and coming up with an airframe that flies and functions. I just take a lot of pride in my airplanes after I've completed one and I get that maiden flight on and everything works out great and it's on the ground safe. It's a lot of fun for me. So again, hopefully these tips and tricks can help. And again, I encourage anybody to chime in the comments below. I love sharing ideas. If you got something that works better than this, by all means, let me know. I'm willing to try anything once at least. So that's it. Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate you watching. Have a great day.